Senator Elizabeth Warren, she's a boss. And recently she had rolled out her Accountable Capitalism Act, which wanted to make private industries more accountable for their actions. And now she has another proposal. And this proposal is fantastic. It focuses more on government and the behavior of our elected officials. It's known as the Anti-Corruption and Public Integrity Act. Love it already. So she wants to ban members of Congress and the White House staff from owning individual stocks, and she wants to replace those with government-managed investment accounts. Now, the whole point of that is to ensure that there is no conflict of interest, which has been an ongoing problem as of late. There have been instances of lawmakers invested in a specific company, let's say a pharmaceutical company, and then they want the profits of that company to go up, because if the profits go up, that means they make more money in their shares. And so they'll push for legislation to do the bidding for these pharmaceutical companies. That's just an example. Elizabeth Warren is like, no, not having it, want to get rid of that.
So two things about this to begin with, and then we're going to give you all the wonderful details, because it's one of the best proposed legislation I have ever seen. That's a really strong comment, but I mean it, and you'll see why. Just so you all know, Elizabeth Warren on the TYT network today at 8:05 p.m. Eastern, she'll be on Rebel headquarters as our guest. So, and a lot of you know this already, but in case you don't, the Young Turks is live 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Rebel headquarters comes right after that at 8:05 p.m. Eastern. And tonight, Elizabeth Warren will be a guest. You can check it out also on Rebel HQ on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, if you want all the Young Turks, you should become a member, tyt.com/join, and get all of our programming. So now, one of the reasons she introduces this today is there's all these corruption stories that are coming out, including Chris Collins, who's a representative from New York, who got indicted and arrested for what? Insider trading. So these guys use the information that they get from Congress sometimes, and sometimes from their own companies. In that case, he was on the board of that company. And then they use it to manipulate the stock market, sell or buy at the right times. And Elizabeth Warren is saying something that all Americans should agree with. Even if you voted for Donald Trump and you love the idea of draining the swamp, you're not allowed to use information from the government to benefit yourself. You're supposed to be working for us, not ripping us off.
And it's not just information. I mean, it's pushing for legislation, authoring legislation that would benefit the companies you're invested in, because you are looking to make more money. I love that she's tackling this issue, because you don't see a lot of lawmakers even talking about it. Also, this is one of my favorite quotes. She says the following: they can put their savings in conflict-free investments like mutual funds, or they can pick a different line of work.
Damn.
Get it? Yes, yes. So there's more to this, but I want you to hear from Elizabeth Warren. She gave a speech on her proposal today, and it was magnificent. So let's take a look at the first clip.
Congressman Billy Tauzin pushed an idea: expand Medicare to cover prescription drugs. Good for seniors. In fact, for many seniors, life-saving. But also very good for big pharma. More prescriptions filled, more money coming in. And it might have all landed there, with seniors getting drug coverage and companies selling more and more drugs. But big pharma, they wanted more. And Billy delivered, which I'm sure had nothing to do with the more than $200,000 in campaign contributions that the congressman had received from the drug industry. Okay, so today, Big Pharma rakes in billions from seniors on Medicare while charging sky-high prices for the drugs they need, and no one in government can negotiate those prices. So what happened to Billy? Well, in December of 2003, the very same month that the bill was signed into law, Pharma, the drug company's biggest lobbying group, dangled the possibility that Billy could be their next CEO. And then what happened? In February of 2004, Congressman Tauzin announced that he wouldn't seek re-election. 10 months later, he became CEO of Pharma at an annual salary of $2 million. Big Pharma certainly knows how to say, thank you for your service.
So her proposal would ban those people from becoming lobbyists. Okay, it is so important.
Yes.
And look, this is also important because she said the problem is far bigger than Trump. It is a crisis of faith. And that is exactly right, because that Billy Townsend that she's talking about, Obama ran an ad talking about that same guy and that same story in 2008, saying he wouldn't let it happen. And guess what he did?
He let it happen.
He let it happen. So just like Bush did, he said you are not allowed to negotiate drug prices with drug companies. The government is not allowed to. Representing us, we just surrendered to the drug companies. And Bush did it, Obama did it. Trump said he wouldn't allow it either. And he came in and he allowed it. Why? They're all owned. It's not just Trump, they're all owned by these lobbyists, and they can't wait to leave office and get paid by them. This bill would prevent that. So this bill is, if the American people knew about all of its details, they would love it. It would be the most popular bill in the country, and it is toxic in Washington.
Yes.
So, and I'm gonna ask her about it tonight, but there's no way the Democrats are gonna allow this bill up for a vote, let alone the Republicans, okay?
Yeah.
Because they're all looking to get rich off of us. And so,
this is why it's so important to elect real progressives in Congress. This is why it's important, because you get real progressives in the Senate, in the House. These types of proposals will no longer be a pipe dream. You have a caucus, a progressive caucus, these types of proposals will become a real reality. So let me give you some more on what she wants to do. Her bill would also impose a lifetime ban on lobbying for presidents and federal lawmakers, and would bar US lobbyists from using foreign cash to affect American policy.
So pause there for a second. So if forget the president, if you're a US congressman like Billy Townsend was, sorry, you don't get to become a lobbyist. But wait a minute, I need to make a living afterwards. Okay, then go get another job. Sorry, you're not allowed to do that, because then we think that you might work for them and not for us. Almost all Americans agree with that, no matter where they come from. The second part is even more amazing. She said she would just ban lobbying from foreign governments.
It's amazing that that's not banned now.
No, but in Washington, that's sacrilege. They're like, what do you mean? The foreign governments pay us the most. Do you know how much the Saudis pay us? Manafort just got convicted today, and he got $60 million from the pro-Russian Ukrainian government for lobbying. Okay, he's like, people like Manafort are gonna be like, how am I gonna buy my ostrich jacket if you won't let me lobby for foreign governments? And oftentimes at the expense of our government, right? You know what she said? They have diplomats, let their diplomats argue their case. Why do they have to buy Americans and have them lobby the American government? No American is allowed to lobby for any other country. I believe that would make America great again.
Yes, it's amazing.
So Washington's gonna hate this.
They do hate it, but what I love is that she is undeterred. You know,
nevertheless, she persisted.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And as I mentioned, she had first proposed the Accountable Capitalism Act. We talked about that on the show. I believe it was last week. And even though I'm sure she got a ton of criticism and heat in Washington for that proposal, she's like, no, I'm gonna keep going, because now, after wanting to hold the big banks and these corporations accountable, I also wanna hold us accountable, us lawmakers accountable for our actions as well. It's fantastic.
She said the Washington's revolving door is slick with oil money. And she pointed out that ExxonMobil had 29 registered lobbyists in 2016. 22 of them previously worked for Democrats and Republicans in government. So you know how unacceptable it is in Washington to talk about the corruption within your own party? And she's doing that now. So this isn't posing, look, all we care about here is policy. It isn't about personalities, okay? And as far as policy goes, this is as tough an anti-corruption bill as I have ever seen. And then she wasn't even done yet. Then she went after Betsy DeVos and she said she's refused to divest from her secret family trust. She's given away the store to grifters and crooks at bogus for-profit colleges. She said she's the worst and most corrupt education secretary ever. I mean, she's coming with a blowtorch, a lead pipe, and a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's giving me goosebumps right now. Like, I'm gonna keep it real. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we haven't even done it justice. There are so many parts to this bill that goes after all the different ways that Washington is corrupt. So what I would hope for, and what is very fair to ask, is let's vote on this. If you don't want to vote as a whole bill, let's vote one by one on each one of these proposals. Go ahead, go on the record, vote against it. We dare you. The trick is the Republicans will never, ever allow it for a vote because at a national level, they're nearly 100% corrupt. The Democratic Party, if you win the House, you win the Senate, are you going to allow these to go up for a vote? That's a really good question. Elizabeth Warren and others should hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they live up to their stance against corruption. I mean, I would say so-called stance against corruption, but this is a real stance.
Yes.
You vote on these, we're having a real conversation. 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.